What's up? Hey, so I'll give people a chance to join in on the chit chat for a little bit. Couple talk about a few things, some stuff that's been circulating around. Number one, number two, updates. And you're also welcome to participate if you would like. You don't have to, but if you want to, I will give you a link. And that's not it. I've been doing it for so long. Oh, so if you want to participate, and you're not gonna, don't forget though, if you have different ideas, I will shut you down in a heartbeat. If you're on Twitter and you want to participate in the chat, you can go to YouTube, Mr. Batty Productions, and you can subscribe or join, and then you can participate in the chat as well. So, first thing I want to talk about, as we have about 30 people on right now, is people shooting stuff. And, I've seen a lot of videos around the streets, people taking pictures and of different people in different kind of positions. Hello, UK. Uh, and one of them I saw was from which was interesting because it had a guy doing something to his rear with a device. I don't know what was going on there. There was a lot going on. I saw it. I didn't share it because I know Twitter. They will let you post it and it'll be there forever. But if I were to share it, they would somehow or another ding me for it, even though it's not my video. So we already established that. We know that's what happens. You post it. It was pretty damning video. It was a guy. I guess he was. I'm gonna have to say he was on drugs or having a mental issue, but he was inserting something into his rectum in the middle of the street. Really disturbing video. I saw it. Uh, it just made me think about people walking down the street to see this thing on a regular basis. It's pretty bad. So let's talk about videotaping in public, because I've been reading some of the comments from people back and forth. And just so you know, I read a lot of stuff. I just don't respond to them because sometimes responding creates a whole different atmosphere that you may or may not be ready to get involved in. But there's a lot of pictures of people that are addicted to drugs, that are caught up. And someone said to me one day, I started that whole taking pictures of people in public, and I did not. I did not start it, but it's fine. I get credit for everything, even if I don't want to be credited. Hey, John, what's happening? So here's the deal. Do I agree with taking pictures of people in public, or do I disagree? I'm ambivalent. I am right down the middle. The reason why? Because you have the right to take pictures of people in public. However, that being said, I'm going to say this. If you're going to take pictures of people in public, can we do it with some kind of context? Don't just take a picture of someone and go, look at San Francisco. Because when you say look at San Francisco, you're saying look at the whole city. That is a moment in time that may or may not reflect the entire city. Now, some people will disagree with me with that one because they say it reflects the entire city, but I'm back and forth. And I've been parts of the city where this is not prevalent. Let me sit up for a second. But keep this in mind. The general public, the people who see these pictures, they're seeing it in a narrow context. And thank you, Gene. I'm glad you guys support me. They look at it in a narrow context. The context of, oh my God, I see this, so this has got to be going on everywhere. Unlike car break-ins, which tend to be going everywhere. And here's a good example of the car break-ins. So I get off an airplane from Phoenix. I literally drive to Haight, get out my car, park it, and within a few seconds after getting out of the car, I see some people that we've shown forever trying to break into a car. And I immediately called Park PD and said, hey, there's a car here. I'm trying to give them partial plate because it was happening really fast. They told me to hang up and call 911. Well, by the time you do all that, they're already long gone. So that being said, uh, um, that being said, if I can get out of a car and see it for a few seconds after getting out of a car, that tells me, and that's how I used to gauge stories. I would get out of a car and look around and say, hey, is something going on here? But when you get out the car and you literally see it as soon as you get out, that may be a problem. So, and Susan, I'll come to your conversation in a minute. Thank you for that. Is that you take it in? So going back to the picture taking, there's two things. Like for instance, Suzanne wrote, "What gets me is when people are just standing around videotaping someone while people are getting robbed. How is that helping the victim instead of caring about the video feed?" And people don't want to get involved. I get that. I don't want to be involved. And I'll tell you the process of getting involved, which can be, I know someone who got involved and it turned out to be a nightmare for them. And I'll explain it to you in a minute. I won't go into who the person was. But as Ms. Givens said, it's quicker to take video than to call the cops or for the cops to arrive. There's some truth and some false to that, but we'll go there in a minute. Hold on one second. I need to respond to a message. This is important, but keep writing your comments because I'm going to keep reading them. Hold on. I'm on live now at my YouTube channel. Hold on one second. So someone wanted to get on board, but they didn't know how to get to it. So hold on one second. I'm sorry. I can't type that fast. So two things. All right. Videotaping and helping are two different things. If you're going to videotape, like if I see something happening, I saw a guy get hit by a car once. Now, I could easily take my phone out and start recording that whole thing as a crash happened, but I took a few seconds to call 911 and say, hey, there's a guy hit by a car. It was in San Francisco. It was in Japantown. Can you get some out here right away? Paramedics, fire trucks, gave them the location. They showed up. So then I took the camera out and videotaped my phone and recorded some of it, and I used some of it for whatever. So we've gotten to the habit now of people are getting paid for bad behavior. They're being awarded. People are getting rewarded for bad behavior. And in some cases, the bad behavior is based on, it looks like my lens is a little bit blurry. Let me see if I can clean up a little bit. The problem is that they're being rewarded because they're shooting video, they're posting it, and then they're being sold. And they're making, decent money off of it sometimes. For example, but sometimes you never get money at all. A good example of that was we had video of the car crash on the Golden Gate, on the Bay Bridge, where the tow truck ran through the toll thing and hit the car, and the guy videotaped it. And the guy who shot it gave me the video and told me to put it up online and see what. So people reached out and said, hey, we want your video. So then one group said, hey, look, if you give it to us, we'll sell it and we'll give you whatever proceeds come from it. Seems legit. Now that was, I think, back in November. And now it is July, and not one single dime is coming in from this company. So we've given them video, and we know that it aired on other places, but they never paid the original guy who shot the video. He never got a dime from it so far. So I worry about these companies and how they're ripping people off. I also worry about how a lot of journalism companies will ask you for your video and say, hey, can we have it in perpetuity? And, we'll distribute it on all of our platforms, and they don't give you a dime for it as well. So in a way, you're not being rewarded, although some people want to do it just to get their name out there that, hey, look at me, I shot this. But it's a slippery slope, because in some cases, like, for example, a good example of people that buy video and you'll make good money off of it is TMZ. But they only look for videos that is something that no one else has ever. I mean, they don't want rainstorms unless, Britney Spears is drowning in a rainstorm. They don't really care. And then you got the people who steal your videos and then post them as their own. That happens quite a bit. Now, I have a thing about that one. So stealing video, if you're doing something illegal and someone has a copy of it and they post it, that's not stealing the video because it was illegal video in the first place, in my opinion. If you're doing something illegal and you put it out there, it's in the public domain. But like John wrote, people risk getting involved, getting pistol whipped or shot. Recording it, you can at least help the police later. But keep in mind, recording video doesn't always help the police later, because if you're not going to be a witness to the video, if you're not going to say I shot this, most people will shoot and say I don't want to be involved. I do not want to be involved. Well, then the police can't solve a crime if people don't get involved. Now, that puts me back to what I said before. I know someone who got involved. It turned out to be a huge nightmare. They saw a robbery in progress. They called 911. The police showed up, and they were actually villainized for reporting it. And they just felt like, well, why did I risk my safety to report a crime when I felt like I was being considered part of the crime, even though I was just calling it in? So I get that. And it does happen. Unfortunately, it does happen. The system sometimes is flawed. And keep in mind, the police job is to enforce the rule. Everybody blames everything on the police. It's like the police did this, the police did that, the police did this. First of all, the police don't make laws, they just enforce them. The name of it is called law enforcement. Keep that in mind, law enforcement. Their job is to enforce the laws that are put out. If you don't like the laws, then you vote against the people that make the laws, and you move the laws on. Period. If you don't like the laws, I'll say it again, if you don't like a law, then you get involved in the process. The police can only enforce laws, they can't make the laws. Now, your legislators and the district attorneys or whatever else, their job is to figure out how far the law has been broken. Now, this is where it gets kind of, I'll use me as a prime example. So a while back, I was attacked in Berkeley by a bunch of people that I was told were friendly. Hey, go there, talk to them. They're friendly, but they've been harassing people around the block on Telegraph Street. So I go up and I talk to someone else before I go talk to them. And they say, no, they're friendly. You should go there. They love it. Okay, so I go there and I'm going off the information. Hey, Jason, I go off the information I got that they were friendly, and that was my first mistake. I tried to talk to them and I was attacked by them. Now, you would think that it was a clear-cut case. I show up, I get attacked. I call police, the police show up, the police make an arrest of the people that attacked me. I was clearly the victim. Or so I thought, until I showed up at court. And then apparently I was the bad guy and they were the victims. Now you go, wait, how could that be? They attacked you. Did you touch them? No, I didn't touch them. They laid hands on me. They broke my camera, with $5,000 camera. I didn't touch anyone. I just asked questions. I didn't go poke somebody and say, hey. But when we got to court, the story was rather different. Apparently, according to the lawyers, my whole purpose in life was to go up to people and basically poke them into a response so that they will physically attack me so that I'll get viewership on my social media. Like, I really want to wake up in the morning and go, hey, you know what? I think I need to be attacked today so I can get my numbers up on Twitter and Facebook. So I understand. I learned from that the system is not fair to the victims or to the people who are reporting it. But going back to my original statement was that I want you guys to be careful when you're recording something. And when I'm talking about recording something, I'm not recording something like, if there's an actual crime in progress and you can get it without being injured safely. But we've been seeing pictures of people laid out on the street with, addicted to drugs, open sores, using needles, things like that. I've seen these things on the street, but there's no context. It's just a picture, and look what I saw in San Francisco today. But that doesn't, and it could be San Francisco, it could be Phoenix, it could be Houston, it could be Philadelphia. There has to be some context, because the public as a whole tends to make their own narrative. And a good example of that is there's a there's a Instagram account which Bay Area Alerts, and they claim that they break more news stories than any Instagram account or any news organization in the Bay Area. Yes, I will say the name again, Bay Area Alerts. The problem I have with that is that they tend to post videos with no context or incorrect context. And once the video is out there, and I've been saying this forever when I do conferences and what have you, and talk to people, is that if the wrong information is out, if the wrong information is out there, people tend to take that wrong information and run with it. And then at that point, they don't want to hear the real information. Hey, Jay, gonna miss you. Sorry, man. Night might be a time for ice cream and smiles. Yeah. Well, we're going to get more friendlier later, Jay, but enjoyed you joining us. Cheeky Monkey wrote, and he's in Europe. The reason why genuine reporters are getting grief from the public and police is because of so-called First Amendment auditors who abuse the right to record in public. There are a lot of people who abuse the right to record in public. You have a right to do a lot of things, but you don't always have the right to, like I've seen people who will literally put their camera right up to the cop's face on the ground while he's trying to make an arrest. And then say, I have the right to be here, I have the right to be here, I have the right to be here. Yeah, you have the right to be there, but come on, man. Would you be happy if one of your family members were on the ground injured and someone ran up and stuck a camera in their face and go, hey, are you okay? No, you wouldn't like that. Of course you would. Hey, Joe, I see you just joined us. If you want to come on, let me know. You have you backstage. If you want to come in and talk, let me know. If you want to talk just voice only, let me know, and I'll cue you in. I appreciate you. I see that you popped in, so you're welcome to whenever you want to. And Joe popped out just like that. So if you pop in, you don't show up on screen, which some people think. You're backstage, and then I can bring you in. So the whole purpose of that, in a nutshell, was I wanted to talk about taking pictures in public. That was, I didn't mean to go out on a what do you call it? I didn't want to go out on a tangent, but I wanted to, on a diatribe, whatever you call it. But I just wanted to bring that up. Is that you have every right to take pictures, but use some common sense when you do it. That's all I'm saying. I don't care who you are, what you are when you do it. Just use common sense. So the other subject I want to talk about, which is important. So if you notice, I don't know if you know or not, but a couple of weeks ago, I posted some documents that were talking about, thank you, Matt, for the $10 super chat. I appreciate it. I wish you could stick around longer. Is that the police commission is trying to end something called pretextual police stops. And maybe I'm using it wrong. If I'm wrong, say I'm wrong. But my thing with pretextual is that it's traffic stops for simple things like tinted windows, no license plates, broken windows, broken windshields, things that you normally would stop someone for that have been a safety issue. Obviously, the biggest, if you want to go backwards in time, the reason why you have plates on cars now is because I was doing the stories along with, I think, Assemblyman Mullen. I think it's Kevin Mullen. And we talked over and over again about how people with the paper plates, which were plates that had dealer plates that had no numbers on it, were doing a disproportionate amount of crime all around the Bay Area because there was no way to identify a vehicle that had no plates. So I think in 2017, they passed a law that wouldn't go into effect till 2019. So now in 2019, you have to have a temporary plate on your car. So for years, you were driving around with just a dealer plate. And I've even did traffic stop for a guy with CHP where a guy was driving across the Golden Gate Bridge for 3 or 4 years with dealer plates that could not identify the vehicle. Keep that in mind. Exactly, like Elaine, like crossing toll bridges. So I knew it wouldn't fix the problem. I knew it would create a new problem. The new problem is that now people are just stealing license plates off of cars. And I had a friend who had their license plate stolen in Daly City, and their car was used for robberies. So now I recommend that you find a way to make sure your plate's secure so that they can't be taken off your car. And if your plate is taken off your car, report it immediately. Because if your plate was stolen, they're either racking up bridge tolls or they're doing something they have no business doing. And also, I noticed that there's a lot of registration plates that are expired in San Francisco. Now, I'm going back to what I said before. So this is important. So the police commission wants to make it so that police officers in San Francisco, not anywhere else, just San Francisco, can be forced to ignore minor traffic things that normally would result in making arrests. I mean, I think that some major serial killer, I can't remember his name, was arrested because of a traffic violation. Could have been, and I also worked with one guy who told me, hey, I'm going to show you something. He said, I'm going to stop a car with a broken windshield. I'm like, okay. So, because that's a violation. You can't have a broken windshield. So he stopped the car with the violation. Turns out the driver was in the car. And this was in Foster City. The driver in the car had three suspended licenses and they were still pending. 3 suspended pending licenses for DUI. So this would have been the 4th one. So this person's driving around dirty. They've been suspended once, twice, and 3 times. Now, I didn't think that would even work. A broken window would bring us to a person, it was a woman, who shouldn't be driving 3 times over. And on the 4th time, she got hit for it. So there is something to it. Now, here's what I noticed. This is the important part. I went through the list of people who wrote into the police commission to say either they support it or they're against it. What I found was a disproportionate amount of form letters submitted. So what's a form letter? Form letter, in my opinion, and maybe I'm wrong, tell me if I'm wrong, is a letter that has been already written by someone else. It's already written by someone else. Everything in there is exactly the same. There's no changes except for the name of the person submitting it. And I read about a dozen. I stopped reading after a while because I started to realize that they're all seem to be submitted on June 9th. So there was a huge amount of them that were submitted at the same time that someone wrote a form letter, and they were for the police stopping traffic violations because they claimed that it was targeting people, minorities, people of color, POC. If you agree or disagree, you need to submit a letter to the police commission. You go online and track it down, find it. Hello, Jennifer. You're not missing a whole lot. We're just talking about a few things. You'll be okay. We'll play catch up in a little bit. And if not, you can watch it again. It's on YouTube. It'll be there. It'll be live. It'll be there. You can watch it later. But it's important that you remember that these traffic stops are only in San Francisco. So if you go to San Mateo, Alameda, if you go to Napa, those same rules don't apply. It's just San Francisco that wants to stop this. But here's the deal. They claim that you're stopping people because they're minorities. That has been against the law for years. I know you say, well, yeah, it's been against the law, but people still do it. But, I remember we were on a traffic stop. This was me working with CHP. I think we were in Oakland. And we stopped a car. And it was over there near Emeryville area, right on the border. And the guy, the officer was talking to him, and the guy was yelling, "You stopped me because I'm black. You stopped me because I'm black." And I'm sitting there recording the whole thing. I'm like, interesting. So I wanted to talk to the guy, as I normally do. I walked up with the camera and said, "Hey, what's going on?" His response to me was, "Yeah, he just stopped me because I'm black." And I had a long pause because I looked at him and I go, "You do realize I'm black, right?" He goes, "Yeah." So do you really think that the guy officer in the car said, "Hey, look at those black people. Let's go stop them"? He goes, "Yeah, you're right. I'm like, okay, so you were stopped because your registration's expired, you weren't wearing a seatbelt, and there's a strong odor of weed coming from your car, which you can smoke weed, it's legal, but you can't smoke it while you're driving. That law hasn't changed." So that being said, and I grew up If you ever notice it, I'm black. If you ever notice it, yes, I'm black. I grew up in Camden and Philadelphia. I grew up in those neighborhoods. Terrible neighborhoods sometimes. Lots of violence. I had people shot dead and right in front of me. I was attacked. People were attacked. Robberies. My house was broken into. You come home and our back door is kicked in and everything at the house of value has been removed. So I know what it's like to live and grow up as a person of color. I didn't grow up rich. Never did. Matter of fact, everything I do now, I fight for. Even if I fight for it, I still get taken from me. I just fight all over again. So it's important to remember that I think that, and if you think that these traffic stops need to continue, it's important that you write to your to the San Francisco Police Commission. And that's pretty much what I want to say about that. Is that this is important. I can't tell you what to write. I can't tell you how to write it, but you need to be involved, because if you're not involved, then you can't. If you don't participate, then you can't complain about the results. So if they stop these stops, stop doing these kind of stops, like no license plate, broken windshield, tinted windows, overly tinted windows, and some of these guys that are doing these auto burglaries, I've seen them driving down the street and the windows are black, pitch black on the sides. You can only see in the front. Everything else is pitch black. It's like so dark, limo dark, you can't see. I'm not against tinted windows, but I am against overly tinted windows where you can't see inside, especially if the people are doing committing crimes on the window, just period. So if you don't participate, don't complain about the results later. You got to participate. Now, I know we're talking about San Francisco, so let's change subject for a minute. Let's go outside of that. Let's talk about something that I think is pretty funny. It's a video that's getting a lot of traction right now is video of people swimming during a lightning storm. And I've talked to people who said they would do it in a heartbeat. And I've talked to people who say that that's probably the dumbest thing they ever heard in their life. Is that why would you swim during a lightning storm? But out here, I'm in Phoenix, and we'll get to where I'm going next. They do it a lot. They'll sit in a hot tub, be in a pool, and there'll be just lightning all over the place. And the only thing they'll get them to move is if rain falls. For some reason, the actual falling of rain is enough to tell them to get out the pool, not the fact that there's lightning striking all over the place. And when I first moved here, a Safeway got struck by lightning, and it burned to the ground. Can you imagine your building burning to the ground because it's struck by lightning? Or can you imagine the pool you're in being electrified while you're in it? And some paramedics wrote that they literally have gone to pools where people have been struck by lightning. And if you want to go to my Twitter page or my YouTube page, even Facebook, you can see the video of people in the pool, which is, when I was a kid growing up in Atlantic City or even at the public pools, the minute there was lightning, we had to evacuate. We had to go indoors and stay indoors until the storm passed. So we were taught a long time ago that swimming and lightning is bad. It's bad. You don't want to mix it. That's like mixing drinking and driving. But I mean, you probably have a lighter chance of getting hit by lightning. But do you want to be that guy that got struck by lightning? And John wrote, while it might not be smart, standing on a roof or next to a tree in a hill in a lightning storm is much more dangerous. And I would say you may be right, John, but you've never been to Phoenix then. Because in Phoenix, the lightning bolts will hit anything, anywhere. I've seen it strike trees, hit the ground. I mean, anything that's metal. If you're walking down the street on your cell phone, and when I'm talking about lightning, I'm not talking about California lightning where it just comes every now and then. Out here, the lightning is, I was here one day where it was literally a barrage of lightning for 1 hour straight. It's like the storm never left. The storm sat over us, and I'm actually worried. I'm standing on my balcony, and it's still dangerous. I'm on my balcony and with a phone, which is electronics. I'm worried. What if that lightning bolt hits me? And I'm just trying to get a shot of lightning. And here I am, I'm on fire because I just wanted a shot. So it's no different than I'm telling you guys about videotaping. I mean, use common sense. But to me, common sense is not being in an actual pool of water. It's like, ligghting and electricity and water absolutely do not mix. So when I posted that video, I had no idea it was going to get some traction. A TV station in Belgium asked me for it. National Weather Service chimed in from Phoenix about it's a bad idea. And remember, when I wrote on there, I wrote, "Are you brave enough?" But I put it in quotes. You know why I put brave in quotes? Because I don't mean brave. I don't want to say, "Are you stupid enough?" Because I don't want to call you stupid. But that's like standing outside in the wintertime with a lightning storm and holding up a pole and going, "Yeah, look at this. Watch what happens. Hold my beer." So if you really want to know what it's like to be in a lightning storm, come to Arizona during the monsoon. It is a mess. All right, so I wrote something else down I wanted to talk about. So give me 1 second without getting too, I just want to have some fun with you guys. I want to give you an update too of what's going on. Because if you read Twitter, I'm already in San Francisco. I like that's funny because everybody knows about what I'm doing but me. The best way to look at it is people buy lottery tickets, although you have a better chance of getting hit by lightning 6 times in a year than you win the lottery. That's true. Thank you, Lon Banks. You definitely have a better chance of getting struck by lightning than you have of winning the lottery. But you know what though? You can't win the lottery if you don't play. So if you don't play, you might be that one time. I know people who won the lottery twice. I'm like, you know what? I need to touch you so I can get some of your. I've never hit the lottery. Okay. I won $50 once. Does that count? Hey Gabriel. Hey Vicky. Hit the lottery once. So does that count? I mean, not $50. And though one day I prayed, I was like, "Dear Lord, can I please find a bag full of money?" It's one of those cases of be careful what you wish for, right? I was in Richmond, California, and found a bag of money. Yep, found a bag of money. It was just laying on the ground. It was a bag of money. I was like, oh, because it was a bag with money printed on the outside, and on the inside was garbage. So I wished for a bag of money. I got a bag of money. So I guess be careful what you wish for. Oh, Lord. So here is my update. Again, back to what I was saying before. Everybody was like, "Oh, my God." There's people posting that I'm moving to San Francisco for the first time. That is the funniest thing I ever heard in my life. I am moving to San Francisco for the first time. So Stanley Roberts, the biggest internet troll, that's what I've been called by trolls. I know a troll because they're not really sometimes using their real name. Unless you're a business, then you should use your real name. Just going to say that. But the biggest troll, me, that's what they said. They asked the Examiner, I think it was, to interview me because I was the biggest troll in San Francisco that's moving to San Francisco for the first time. I think that was funny. I laughed at that. I always laugh at the internet because if you don't laugh, you'll go crazy. And some people have gone crazy because I read their people. Yes, Elaine, these are people who they use names like this one guy, I think, who wrote it. He was a troll because his name was, instead of, what's the guy who heads Facebook? What's the guy's name? What's the guy who heads Facebook? Come on, somebody help me out here. Help me out. I'm waiting to type it. Zuckerberg. So Mark Zuckerberg. So his name on his name was Zark Zuckerberg or Zark Muckerberg. So he wrote that I am moving to San Francisco, or I moved to San Francisco from Phoenix and I'm just got here. And I'm like, okay, so I just moved to San Francisco. Isn't that crazy? So I've never been here before. So if you look on my Twitter, I wrote a thing on there that says, I actually wrote, "Hey, I'm new to San Francisco. Can you help me figure out what I don't already know?" And that's not in the news because I want to learn since I've never been here before. And I think it's funny because people who've never been to San Francisco move to San Francisco and tell me that I'm new to San Francisco, which is hilarious because I've worked in San Francisco since 1998. I worked there for 20 years nonstop. You know me because I had bounties put out on me by bicyclists for $100,000. Yeah, remember that one? Look it up. $100,000 bounty. I should have been $1 million. I discovered Marcus Malone in Oakland. That was 2011, I think, whatever year it was. I got chewed out by Elmo Shirt Guy because he was in the bike lane. But imagine me doing that all from Phoenix and didn't even realize that I was, sideshow people. So I made fun of it because you should make fun of it. It's hilarious. I even made fun of like, yeah, you should move back and link up with E40. I'm like, well, maybe if E40 would follow me, but he'd been following me for years. So I just wrote that and I said, next he'll write a song about me, but we already know there's a song out. So I think it's hilarious that people are going online and saying that I'm new to the Bay Area. Matter of fact, I've never really left the Bay Area mentally because when you've been here for 20 years, you know where all the good restaurants are. That I like the ones that are still here. The good ones are still around. The bad ones, that's why they're gone. That's what it is. So the deal is that we've already put in our notice where we are now. And the only issue is that we are still house hunting, which is a challenge in the Bay Area. It's a challenge for many reasons. There are scammers that are trying to, and I want you to know this, there are people out there who are literally, legitimately scamming people because they know there's a shortage of housing. So use caution. But they're doing it in Phoenix now because guess what? There's a shortage of housing in Phoenix. So there was a story I posted a few days ago from, if you remember Joe Ducey, who used to work at Cron, now he's at ABC 15. Fake landlords are saying, hey, you can rent this place. And they somehow or another got a code to the door and rent the place out, get all the money. Of course, it's always in cash. If someone asks you for something in cash, run the other way. Write a check, at least a check you can stop it. Use a credit card, that'll cover you. But don't give them cash and don't give them cards for like Apple cards. Don't. If someone asks you, it tells you, here's my biggest thing I always look for. Are you a God-fearer? I want to rent my place out. And I only want to rent to a God-fearing individual. I'm in Europe and I'll be here for 6 months or a year, and I want to rent it out to a God-fearing a person. But I want to know I can trust you. Send me $2,000 in Apple cards. I don't have a red flag. If I had one, I'd wave it. Red flag. I feel like I'm doing what's that show called? Catfish. People are getting catfish with homes. They're literally, if you don't know the person, if you never met the person, when I try to rent a place, I try to meet with the owner. I try not to do anything just online. If it's harder. I have a red shirt. Yeah, kind of red. I guess it's kind of like burnt orange or something. So yeah, red flag. If you can't meet with the person, and some people get taken back, I'll call them and say, hey, where are you? Can I meet with you? No. Well, why not? Well, because I'm not available. Okay. Red flag. Try to, if you need a place that bad, try to find somebody that can help you. They even charge you $100 for a credit check. So imagine all the people that submit for a credit check at $100, and they say, "Oh, reject it." There are so many scams. Hey, okay, Lon, thank you. So I'm only going to be here for another 15 minutes if you could hang out that long, because obviously you have things to do. I have things to do, but I want you to use caution and use common sense when you're trying to rent. There are so many scammers out there, as Elaine wrote, and there are so many naive people out there. The part I want to make sure is that this is important. We have to stop rewarding bad behavior. We are rewarding people. There are people who are, getting millions of dollars. They're getting, social media recognition. They're doing things and it's making them blow up, and they're getting big and like, oh my God, I'm big. But I know you go, but what you do in the dark comes on the light. Yeah, whatever. But these people are doing things that are wrong. They're wrong, but and they're clout chasers. Thank you, Jason. But here's a good example. I don't know if you watch Catfish. if you watch Catfish, I watched one day where it was Armani and a question mark. If you can find it on Catfish, look that one up. That one was the epitome of bad behavior. And I'll say this because so Deep Pimpin' was someone who came out of, she got caught catfishing. She got famous off of that. Someone saw the name and says, "Oh my God, that's a great name." So they made a Facebook page called Deep Pimpin'. So Deep Pimpin', who was her name, couldn't use Facebook because the other person took custody of the name. So for years, people thought Deep Pimpin', who appeared on 106 in Park, I didn't see it, I just saw the Catfish version, were like going to this other page saying that's her, and being and this guy's getting rewarded. Now it doesn't end there because the girl's name was Armani, who literally was trying to build her career as a musician. So she reached out to the fake Deep Pimpin' page to join in and hopefully get some kind of help. So she was given the fake Deep Pimpin' music and scores and what have you, and he was taking them. Now it got to the point where he was even going out and pretending to be a MTV crew, where he claimed, he even said on camera that he built his own badges that said Film MTV Crew. You can't even trust badges anymore. And was going around, and when people would say, "Well, where's Deep Pimpin'?" they go, "Oh, she's sick, she couldn't make it." But they were making, and so then MTV finally got in touch with the actual Deep Pimpin' because she was on a older, let me turn that off. Hold on one second. I hate this because people do this when they want air. They try to, here we go. They try to interrupt. I'm going to put it on Do Not Disturb. I should have done that before. I should have known that from D-Faye. She says, put on Do Not Disturb. So anyway, the long story short, the guy who stole the page ended up doing a collaboration with Deep Pimpin' and Amari, who wanted the page, who was trying to grow up. But he got rewarded for all that bad behavior, and now they're doing tracks together. And he said, "Why would you do it?" He said, "I was chasing clout." I'll say it again. I was chasing clout. And unfortunately, social media has turned us into clout chasers because people who are behaving badly on social media are being rewarded. There is no reason to not behave badly because there are people, and you may not be the one that wins the reward or are awarded major things, but 1-2 people that do it attracts 300 people to try it. And I think it's shameful, personally. And you call me old, call me what you want. It's shameful that we have reverted to doing things bad to get publicity, and we get it and we run with it. And then you're right, Jason, they are copycats. They do it all the time and they get away with it, and we reward them, and we buy their records and we buy their music, and we follow them on social media, and we say, "Look, I want to follow this guy and I want to learn how to be like him." Just another good example is the shooter in I can't pronounce the name, where all those kids were killed. Uvalde, is that right? I posted a while back all the Instagram accounts that had the same name and the same picture. Hello, Switzerland. It's good to see you. I might need another knife because some of my life got misplaced. And Stefan, if you guys don't know, came to visit me from Switzerland. This is when I was in crime. In San Francisco, by the way, people, not Phoenix. It's good to hear from you, Stefan. Thank you for still following after all these years. Also, so the point I'm trying to make is that stop rewarding bad behavior. Be part of the solution, not part of the problem. If you know they're bad, don't follow them. Don't get involved in minor and Twitter fights. Don't get involved with Twitter fights with people who don't have a real name. If you don't have a real name and they're trolling you, and you troll them and you let them troll you, then that's on you. That's on you. You gotta not let them get away with this stuff, because trolls have just taken over. I mean, I think Elon Musk should have said, "Can you tell us how many trolls are on your Twitter account?" Yeah, that one would have went over pretty good. That's like bots. I love. I'm not gonna lie to you. When I get one, I know it's one. I'll write something random like, "Yeah, I cut off all five of my fingers, and now every time I want to make cereal, uh, I have to use my toes." And I'll just write that, just something random, and then see what their response is. And their response will usually be something like, "Oh, that's interesting. Well, you should follow my account." Or my favorite one now, and I won't say favorite in a good way, or the bots that tell you that, oh, you locked out of your page. No, I wasn't locked out of a page. Um, no, I wasn't locked out of a page, but I don't need somebody. I'm not going to give my information to somebody to unlock me from a page that I'm not locked out of. And very important, I'm going to leave this note for you guys. A lot of you don't have two-party authentication. You need to have that because so many of you guys are getting hacked. Thank you, Gabriel. So many of you guys are getting hacked. And trust me, every week I get someone trying to log into my account, and I get the notification that, hey, were that you? If that wasn't you, let us know. So I know when people are trying to do it. It happens at least once a week. So important. Now, if you just joined us, we talked about a few things, and you can go back and watch it. I'm not going to go back over them all over again, but one of the things we talked about was videotaping in public. A lot of you know who I'm talking about. If you're going to videotape in public, use some common sense. Don't just give some context to what you're videotaping. Don't just post it and then leave people's own imagination. I meant to mention this. So I read an article. This is important. I'm going to let it go with this one. I heard that they're trying to make, and yes, there will be a show Sunday. They're trying to make fentanyl, and if I'm saying it wrong, legal. They're trying to make it no longer a class 1 drug. You know, it's just funny because people who need like Vicodin or oxycodone can't get it. But yet now they want to make fentanyl legal so that it could just be distributed anywhere and no longer a class, whatever class it was for drugs. Come on, people. Thank you, Gabriel. I don't know if I'm, because people say I say it wrong sometimes. So literally, I saw somewhere a group wanted to make fentanyl no longer a legal drug. So that way you can just get it anywhere. And their argument was that if you know that you can't arrest away fentanyl. You can't arrest it away. You can't arrest away. You can't legislate it away. It's just like the war on drugs from back in the 80s with crack cocaine. But ironically, crack cocaine is still illegal. Cocaine is still illegal. But now they've made it so you have like if I injure my knee, and I've had knee surgery once where it left me, my knees are been screwed up for years, and but I can't get anything for pain. I just have to deal with it. And I froze. Okay, well, hopefully I'm still here. Am I still here? And what is DMT, Jason? I don't know what that is. So people can't get normal drugs over the counter like Oxycontin or oxycodone, or they can't get different pain drugs. But they want to make sure you can get fentanyl, which is killing people by just a gram or a small grain of sand can kill someone. They want to make that legal. My whole brain just exploded on that one. Anyway, as I wrap this thing up, if you're not following me on YouTube, please do. Trying to get to 10,000. Yeah, Oakland decriminalized mushrooms. I remember that. So marijuana, I knew that was coming at some point, and I'm not against it. I'm not, I knew when it became medical marijuana that it was going to progress into being legal at some point. I don't do it, so I have enough issues. I'm not going to have my brain clogged with something that DMT is hallucinogenic. Yeah. Big difference is hallucinogens aren't addictive. Okay, thank you, John. I don't know that. I don't know a lot about drugs. I'm not a drug expert. Never claimed to be one. Never want to be one. I've worked with the LAPD drug recognition team, but that was many years ago. And I do know that you're right, Jason. California is taxing the crap out of everything, including cannabis. So they're making billions of dollars. That's where they have a bigger budget because they're making lots of money off of marijuana. And again, I'm not against it. I'm not for it. I'm just, if that's what you like, then do it. I'm not going to tell you not to. If you're old enough and you can afford it, then please do it. Just don't drink and just don't do it while you're driving. Don't do it while you're operating heavy machinery. Don't do it while you're using a big butcher knife that you know is super sharp and you cut your fingers off. If someone does a drug, a reasonable bar is if someone does a drug every day for 3 months, what happens when they stop? Yeah, I don't know. Now it's about bars opening at 4 a.m. and sports gambling. And you know, it's funny thing about it, you mentioned that, Jason, is that we've had the same legislation out here about sports gambling, and it didn't matter, it still went through. They have sports gambling in Arizona. They're now trying to pass it in the Bay Area or California. You know, it's a free-for-all. I mean, I'm not saying what you can and cannot do. Use common sense. Some people don't have common sense, but if you have it, use it. Yes, it's not appropriate when you're doing something that gets someone killed. Yes, I agree. That's my argument. If you're going to do something that gets someone killed or injured, then don't do it. But I know, it's funny, like the signs you see on the freeway that says, don't drink and drive. Well, if you're already drunk while you're driving, that sign's not going to make a difference. If you're already driving, it's not going to make a difference if you see a sign that says don't drink and drive. What are you going to do? Pull over and go, oops? I get it. You got to tell people, hopefully they're not drunk, that they'll remember that in the future. But you know what makes me not drink and drive? When I go to a crash and there's some dead people or a dead kid somewhere that I've seen, and I've seen everywhere there is to be killed in the world. Gunshots to flames to crashes, everything. And it doesn't just it affects everybody. It affects everybody. Think about the long-term effect of, and also there's a new 988 number, I think, that's going around now that if you have mental help, you need mental help, call it. Please call it. That's important. So as I wrap this up, I want to go back and reiterate one more thing is that remember what I said earlier, if you missed it, that they want to pass a rule that makes it, thank you, Gabriel, it goes active tomorrow. I thought they said it was active here in Arizona, but I think it's already here in Arizona. I think they had the commercials up yesterday. So if wherever state you are, and Gabriel's in Ohio, I think. And also, funny story, I know I keep saying I'm ending. So one of my followers was driving in Nevada, got pulled over by Nevada traffic state troopers. And only thing they could think about was that they were worried that I was going to get out the car with the trooper. And thank you, Jason, for the $2. And thank you for the 10 that I got earlier. I appreciate that. Yeah, I know. Oops. Not if you're wrapping up. I want to keep it under an hour. So it's at 54 minutes. So I am going to wrap it up. I don't use drugs. And if you do, that's on you. But use common sense. And don't, it's like drinking by yourself. Don't have someone there. So that way, if something goes wrong, they can at least help you. But I prefer you don't do drugs at all. That's just my opinion. And I'm just a journalist, what I know. You're right. Life is a gamble. And you can swim in a pool with lightning. I guess you can do what you want. Appreciate you guys. I really do. Remember, subscribe to YouTube. Get me up to 10,000. I'm on Facebook. My numbers are around 157,000 people. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. I'm also on Instagram at Stanley Roberts TV. I post on all these accounts, not always the same stuff. What made you decide to stream today? Because as you know, we have we're about to launch Gotham SF. And I did have to mention that. And I want to make sure that you understand that I'm here. I'm here for you. And I do plan on bringing back some of my storytelling styles. Thank you, John, to the Bay Area. And as things start moving on, you'll start to see more of me in the Bay and less of me in Phoenix. And for those people who think I just moved to San Francisco from Phoenix, I've been in San Francisco for 20 years. I won't say most of my life, because I was 10 years in LA. So have a great day, everybody. You'll see me on the streets. Say hi. Don't be afraid to say hi. And hopefully we won't see you on a traffic stop, because I have been invited by many agencies to jump in with them. So that will be ramping up again, and we will be seeing you on the streets. So let's do this like we always knew this. And you guys have a good day. And thank you very, very much. And remember, we have a Twitter account, Gotham SF. Follow that one, and you'll hear more updates. Appreciate it. And thank you very much. Peace.